We're gathered together here, Dr. Frankel, on the 12th of February, 1977 at Pacific School of Religion, first of all to honor you, and then to make public the announcement of the Frankel Library and Memorabilia at the Graduate Theological Union. We are particularly interested today in your published writings, and I note that your latest book in English has an intriguing title, The Unconscious God. And it occurs to me that this is an unusual title for a psychiatrist to give to one of his books. I wonder if you'd comment a bit on that book.
It's a deplorable state of affairs that such a title should be unusual or challenging a psychiatrist, because it depicts the actual situation, and this is that for too long a time psychiatry has closed its eyes toward a phenomenon such as religion. Because religion is also a human phenomenon, and any human phenomenon should have been taken into account and taken at face value by psychiatry. Instead, for too long a time, as I said before, psychiatry, more specifically psychoanalysis, even more specifically Freudian psychoanalysis, has tried to convince us that religion is no more than just a collective, compulsive, obsessive neurosis of mankind, that God is no more than just the projection of a father image, and so forth. And what I think is that psychiatry, or for that matter psychology, should remain open without selecting certain phenomena that it allows to be existent. It should be open to all human phenomena. And one of the most important phenomena in human life is man's reaching out for a meaning to his existence. And even more, he's reaching out for an ultimate meaning to existence. And this believing in the existence of ultimate meaning is the root or the crown of religion. And this, in this sense, in this widest possible sense, religion is also an entirely human phenomenon and has to be taken at its face value rather than being dismissed as a symptom of neurosis, of one aspect of the Oedipal situation, and so forth.
So it's quite natural for you then to use religious terminology, even
this doesn't mean, Professor Leslie, that religion is only a human phenomenon. But I, as a psychiatrist, am entitled only to focus on the naturalness, on the humanness of the phenomenon called religion.
Yes. And of course, one of the reasons that we at Pacific School of Religion and in the Graduate Theological Union are interested in your work is that we can take your work and extend it into the religious dimension.
There is a transition. There is a bridge possible. And all of us are trying to build up bridges rather than to destroy them. Bridges of understanding. Bridges, or bridges, as one might say as well, leading from one dimension into the next higher dimension. Why do I emphasize this dimensional view on the world of man over against the divine world, the more encompassing world? Because if we only speak of levels or layers, we separate and sever one realm from the other. But when speaking of a higher over against a lower dimension, what I'm thereby bringing in is that a higher dimension is to be defined as the more inclusive dimension. This means the higher dimension, say the dimension of theology, includes the human dimension. Theology includes anthropology. This means that there is no mutual exclusiveness, but mutual inclusiveness. Theology simply cannot arrive at a truth that contradicts the human truth, but a truth that goes beyond, that surpasses the human truth. And on the other hand, man need not fear that he will meet contradictions or will have to deny his humanness when he transcends his human world toward the divine world. He has not to deny his humanness, but he will fulfill his humanness, something that might be very familiar to you, as far as I know. Forgive my partial ignorance. There has been said that Jesus came to fulfill the law and not to deny it. Is that correct?
Not to destroy it, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there is some parallelism.
Indeed,
right?
there is.
That's a very interesting point, Dr. Frankel, because there's been a lot of talk, particularly here at places like GTU, where theology and psychology intertwine themselves so closely. One of the big issues I have found in the last couple of years has been, what is the difference between psychotherapy and spiritual direction? You know, and it seems as though as we concentrate on it, the questions always keep coming up: what comes first, what comes second, what's of greater value, what's of lesser value. But it seems as though when we deal with spiritual direction in that realm, we're always dealing with something. I always have the feeling that I'm dealing with the word possibilities. And when I'm dealing with psychotherapy, I'm dealing with realities, you know. So somehow, for me, logotherapy has been I see logotherapy as on the continuum between psychotherapy and spiritual direction. It is a piece of both. It's my way of
a missing link, you think.
It is. It makes it. It brings the two.
Yes,
it weds the two
yeah,
together.
I just want you to recognize that at the moment we speak of dimensions, a higher as a more inclusive dimension, it's incomparable. It becomes incompatible, you see. You cannot measure, you cannot say one is of a higher value or of a lower value, but one is encompassing the other. And so you see, if I draw if you think of a square that way in perspective view, and then you may construct a cube on the basis of that square. Now you cannot say there is a contradiction between a square and a cube. You may consider the square as the projection of the cube down into a lower dimension, into the two-dimensional plane over against the three-dimensional space. On the other hand, if you are enlarging the, which word did you use? Something similar. Enlarging, transcending the plane of the square, you will arrive at a cube. But these are two different dimensions, and you can't compare them because one is the more encompassing, more inclusive dimension. But let me, in addition to pointing out, as I improvisingly try to do, that the humanness of man is fulfilled and not denied in the next higher dimension of theology over against anthropology. The same also holds for various psychological concepts. For instance, the great American psychologist, the late Abraham Maslow, has taught us to try to actualize ourselves, actualize our potentials. It's all okay, and the greatness of the spirit called Abraham Maslow was evidenced by the fact that he didn't mind my heavy criticism on this theory, but finally in his latest writings fully acknowledged that I was right in pointing out that self-actualization is all okay, but you can obtain it, you can arrive at it, it is available to you only on a detour, as it were, via meaning fulfillment, or, to use a more comprehensive term, via self-transcendence. If you are transcending yourselves by giving yourself, if you are forgetting yourself, if you are not caring for yourself, nor for your own self-actualization or the actualization of your potentialities, then you are actualizing yourselves by forgetting and giving yourselves via self-transcendence. And so you see, there's also no mutual exclusiveness. You are fulfilling Abraham Maslow's recommendation, a man should actualize himself, by not caring for it, by your self-transcendence. So it's not to be denied what Abraham Maslow taught, but it arrives, it can be maximized, it can be brought to its fullest development via self-transcendence.
You also mentioned in your writings, or perhaps in just talking to me, that self-actualization can be not only towards meaning, but also can be towards our more basic desires and instincts. I can actualize myself as my potentials for criminality, or I can self-actualize myself as into the higher dimension. So I can self-actualize myself into a higher dimension or into a lower dimension. And
this is right, Dr. Faber. This is a danger, a threat inherent in the concept of self-actualization, that the question only starts with that business of actualizing one's own potentialities. Which potentialities within myself should be actualized, which are worthy of being actualized. And you might remember, you are one of the best knowers of the literature in the field, that once I am pointing out, for instance, Socrates confessed that he harbored within himself the potential to become a criminal. Now, should he had self-actualized himself, he would have, this self-actualization would have included becoming a criminal. You must be selective, not only vis-a-vis of the world and the possibilities the world offers you, life is offering you by each and every concrete life situation confronting you. You have also to become selective as to yourself. And so the business of the value, you cannot circumvent, is that the right expression? Yeah. Circumvent the value decision, the decision making. And that is why I prefer to start and to wind up with the concept of meaning. A situation confronting me has a meaning inherent and dormant. It is a call and a challenge addressed to me, and I have to respond. And this business of responding is one of the fundamental features characterizing human life, human existence. It's responsibleness, not in the sense, the moralistic sense of responsibilities I have to fulfill, but of deeply, profoundly being responsible by responding, or better to say, responding in a responsible way. And so I have to make a choice incessantly. What is demanded of me by a situation, or what is demanded of me in terms of which potentiality to actualize? I might be inclined to be lazy. I might be inclined to be a perfectionist. Now, which way to steer through Scylla and Charybdis? You see, between the extremes, incessantly you are confronted with the necessity to make choices. And this is by the, you see, you have rightly pointed out that there is a danger inherent in the concept of mere self-actualization, a danger in terms of becoming indiscriminate.
Yes, and also in seizing upon any meaning And one of the reasons that we're interested in this theological community
Right.
in logotherapy is that we see that the search for meaning by itself is not enough, except
enough.
as the search